X-Men Origins of Wolverine is a 2009 American superhero film based on the Marvel comic character of the same name. What's good? It's a Boy Dude Reviews, and today we are gonna be reviewing X-Men Origins Wolverine. And it's the fourth installment in the X-Men film series, and it is the first spin-off of its standalone Wolverine trilogy. The film was directed by Gavin Hood, written by the Game of Thrones writer David Benioff and Skip Woods, and produced by and stars Hugh Jackman. It co-stars Leov Shigariba, if that's how you say his name, Danny Houston, Dominic Morgan, Will.i.am, okay, and Ryan Reynolds. And the film acts as a prequel spin-off to Wolverine's past. And what is the film all about? Well, seeking like a quiet life from his dark past, Logan, better known as Wolverine, seems to have found his love and contentment with Kyla Silver Fox, played by Lynn Collins. Logan's peaceful existence is shattered when Victor Creed, his richest brother, brutally murders Kyla. Logan's thirst for revenge propels him into the Weapon X program, where he undergoes a painful procedure to bond his bones with adamantium, making him virtually indestructible and more than a match for Victor. Now, the film was obviously shot in Australia, Hugh Jackman's place, and Canada as well. And there were a lot of delays of this film, and due to the weather and Jackman's other commitments and other things, and incomplete screenplay that was still being written in LA, while principal photography rolled in Australia. Conflicts arising between director Gavin Hood and Fox executives, and an unfinished work print being leaked on the internet 1 month before the film's debut. Yeah, this film really went through a production heck. And the film was released worldwide on the May 1st, 2009 by 20th Century Fox, and it's widely known as one of the worst X-Men, not one of the worst, it is regarded as the worst X-Men film in the entire series, and possibly one of the worst comic book films of all time. The film at the time did get mixed reviews, being praised for its action sequences, the cast acting, particularly Hugh Jackman and Levi Schreiber, emotional resonance, humor, and a musical score, but it came under fire for its poorly made CGI, convoluted plot, overabundance of characters, and its diversions from the source materials, mostly its portrayal of the Deadpool character. But it was a financial success. On a budget of 150 million, it went on to grow 373 million, and yeah, and literally, the film did get mixed reviews at first, but then as time went on and people started to rewatch the film in like DVD and all that, it got more negative reviews, I would say. But it's kind of mixed to negatives, to be honest with you, just because Hugh Jackman is awesome. And this is where we come straight to the positive, is that no matter what, Hugh Jackman always just gives it his all as the Wolverine, you know. This is like the early days of Wolverine, you know. He was a brute back then, you know. He was a rebel. He was, you know, really violent. And I have to admit, I did like the first 10 minutes of the film where we see little Wolverine and his brother, and the entire sequence has literally him and Victor Creed, you know, battling and fighting throughout all the wars in time up to the 70s. And I thought that montage was pretty nicely and well directed and well executed. Certainly that was like the best part of the film, because I thought it was really nice. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen what Wolverine and Victor were up to, you know, during like the Civil War and all that. I thought that was pretty well done, to be honest with you. And I have to admit, Liv Schreiber, who plays Sabretooth, he did a pretty damn good job. Logan's mutant half-brother, I don't think he's his brother in the comics, but for some reason, I think for the movie, they made him his brother. And yeah, it was a little odd, but it is what it is, to be honest with you. Also, I have to admit, the action scenes in terms of the fighting is getting better. When rewatching all these X-Men movies, it's really, 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 really cool seeing how the X-Men movies have, you know, like improved in their fighting scenes. Like the action sequences are also done much better in this movie than the previous ones, and it's so much cooler. There's a scene when Logan attacks Stryker's, like, guys' helicopter, and it looks so cool. That sequence after the barn was just amazing. It was fascinating. I really liked that, and it was cool. It was really nicely done. I have to admit, other characters that I like. I do like the guy who played Gambit, Taylor Kitsch. He was pretty cool as Gambit, and I really did like his power. It kind of made me want a Gambit film even more. And I know Fox was actually planning on doing a Gambit film, but now Disney owns X-Men, so they can't do that anymore. And obviously, Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, he did a decent performance. And it's so jarring seeing it's still kind of the Wade Wilson of Deadpool, but it's very different. Like, the writing is so much different. And I do like Danny Houston's version as William Stryker. I mean, to be honest with you, Brian Cox did a better job, but I do like the slightly younger version of him. He's William Stryker is still old, but he's a little younger, And Danny Houston does a decent performance as this really, like, angry, guy. I mean, this is like set a few months after his son Jason killed his wife, and he has this love and hate relationship with mutants because his son being a mutant drove his wife to suicide. So he understands what they're going through, but despises their destructive forces, and he just wants to control them, and he wants to use their power to fight other enemies. And yeah, it is what it is, and that's the thing. Like, this film, like, the actors do a damn good job in performing. Like, none of the casting were that bad. Even will.i.am did a pretty decent job as John Waff. I thought he was okay, to be honest with you. I thought it was decent. And yeah, I have to admit, the score isn't too bad either. It ain't too shabby. It ain't too shabby, my dude. And then we come to I'd say, the mixed aspect of the film. And actually, it's mainly negatives, to be honest with you. Let's just say negatives. And it is definitely the portrayal of Deadpool. Like, before I watched the Deadpool films, I didn't know what Deadpool is, but when I saw Deadpool in this film, I was like, I don't think that's what Deadpool's meant to look like in the comics. It was like something that Hollywood just conjured up, to be honest with you. Like, this Deadpool is like a combination of all the mutants' powers into one. I have to admit, I put my hand up, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought having all these mutants' powers into one character was a pretty cool idea. But as it could have been any other villain. But why do they have to do it for Deadpool? Deadpool is the merc with the mouth, and they zipped his mouth shut. What the heck were they thinking, them stupid idiots, them writers? My gosh, why would they do that? It was stupid. I'm so happy Ryan Reynolds got to do his Deadpool and, give the character justice in the future films, and I'm happy for that. Can't wait to rewatch those films. And I have to admit, but the CGI in this film is the worst comic book CGI I've ever seen. I have to admit, it's even worse than the previous X-Men movies in the past. Like, there's a scene where Wolverine is like looking at his adamantium claws for the first time, and the CGI looks so bad, but it's laughably and shockingly bad, because you laugh at it by how goofy it looks, but you're just stunned that this high budgeted flipping Hollywood studio conjured up something like this. I mean, really? That was just stupid. And I think that one sequence was one of the leaks that was leaked. Because people were looking at it and they all thought that it was just like unfinished, like, CGI, and then when they saw it in the film, they were definitely like, oh my gosh, it's bad, and yeah, it doesn't look good. But the problem with it is that the frame rate of the claws colliding against one another doesn't match with the frame rate of the picture. I feel like they animated claw adamantiums as like 12 frames per second, and it doesn't match against the 24 frames per second film, and it looks like it just keeps skipping and flickering, and it's so weird. It has this strange cartoony look to it, to be honest with you. But yeah, they really did do a bad job with that. Also, this film kind of does retcon the previous films in ways, because like there was a lot of things that just left my head scratching, because it really ruins like the whole, you know, lore and stuff happening in the previous films. Like, for example, Wolverine in the first movie told Rogue said to Wolverine that when his claws come out, do they hurt? And he said, all the time. And then we had the flashback in X-Men 2 where you see Wolverine running away from Stryker and he's covered in blood, like his claws are completely blooded and he's like screaming in pain. And then in this film, his claws are clean. They are these dudes are polished to the core. They are shiny, clean, and silver. And you're just looking at them and you're like, this is just stupid. Like, that isn't how it is. And oh dear, dearie me, to be honest with you. And the whole backstory on how he got the name Wolverine was just calling the Wolverine because he's got claws like a Wolverine. Like, we don't need a whole story about a moon and someone called Kukachu, and oh my gosh, it was corny as heck. That's why I say it's laughably bad. And yeah, this is definitely the only movie in the X-Men series that you don't even need to really watch this film to appreciate the X-Men movies. Like, who needs to know what happened to Logan's past? That's the great thing about Logan, is that he's so mysterious. I liked not knowing what his past was like, you know. I mean, it was cool to see what he was up to, but I don't think this is the right film for it. I mean, I know there's other comic books for that, and I like to read them, but this film didn't do the origins of Wolverine justice, and it was due to the mixed critical reception and moderate success at the box office that planned for X-Men Origins Magneto was cancelled, and the draft script for the Magneto origin story was handed on to Matthew Vangar, and he kind of incorporated it into the X-Men First Class film, which is coming out next. And yeah, that's a prequel done right, my friend. And yeah, X-Men Origins of Wolverine is a very underwhelming movie that has a lot of draggy moments, and the visual cinematography isn't even that impressive, to be honest with you. And oh gosh, this film is pretty bad. I'm gonna have to give this a D, and I'm gonna give it dude, in my opinion, this definitely deserves a 5 out of 10. But I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and the casting did do a good job, so I'll give them that. But wow, was this film a disaster. Man, it was a disaster. But yeah, thank you for watching this review. Please like and share this video, comment down below and tell me what's your favourite X-Men film. What's your favourite Wolverine film? This is not my favourite by a long shot, but thankfully there are plenty more good movies to come in the future. But thanks for watching, and as always, Avoided Reviews, signing out.